Al Jazeera, Zinwanet News, BBC News, a whole bunch of good places. Also Train Jam, that's where it's at, yeah. So come on up.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
My name is Lual Mayen, and I'm really excited to be here today. And as you know, I'm going to talk more about video game for peace and conflict resolution for social good. So that's much what I will be talking today. And I'm going to relate it with my personal story and how I got into the video game industry. I'm from South Sudan, and how many people know South Sudan here? Like, it's actually like the newest country in the world, and we got our independence in 2011. So it's like it's pretty new. And right now I work for the World Bank, also for my project that is Junub Games. So Junub Games is a small startup that I founded in Uganda when I was in the refugee camp. So we build like video game and some of the board game for peace and conflict resolution, so that it can actually help to change the mindset, the attitude and perception of people toward war. So that was the main case, because when you look at South Sudan, the war began like in 1983, and between the people of the South and people of the North. And then from there, like it became more of tribal conflict. It became more of civil conflict. Then my parents were affected, so they had to flee from South Sudan to Uganda in 1993. That's when I was born, on the way as they're going to the refugee camp. So then from there, like I grew up most in the refugee camp, and I had to utilize every opportunity that I had in the refugee camp, because it wasn't like a choice for my parents to leave my country, but it was something that was imposed on them. So what happened is that South Sudan got the independence, and we managed to try to go back to the country, but still, like, because the country is so rich, there's oil, there's a lot of resources. So that actually brought into like conflict of, there was corruption and, between the government and also individual. That actually evolved into war in 2013, and almost 300,000 people were killed, in the city. So a lot of people flee again, back to the refugee camp. So like South Sudan has about like 2.5 million refugees, and it's pretty small, a country of almost 12 million people. So it's like, and we have almost about 1.2 million people that are internally displaced. They're in South Sudan, but they are displaced. So what happened was like when I grew up, I thought like video game, like the fall from above. Nobody create video game, like it's something you just get on your computer and you start like playing them. So, but to me, like I was like I started like playing a video game called GTA Vice City. So when in the camp, like I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like and then I like played every time. So when I started like playing GTA Vice City, that actually gave me like a more vision of like how we can utilize the video game in a way that, because when you go to the war-affected areas, for example, South Sudan, we have almost 72% of the population is under the age of 30, like 72%. So these are like young people. They're so energetic. And as I said before, the war began like in 1983. That means that the current generation were born in war, they were raised up in war. So their mindset, when someone is like at age of 10, you start like dropping guns, because that is what you were born in. So I realized that even when the international community tried to restore peace back in the country, they signed the ceasefire, they did everything. But again, it wasn't helping, because I believe that like true peace is built over time. Seeing this population, which is like 73%, their mindset is war. So it's more than just signing ceasefire for the peace to return in the country. It's more than that. It's all about like changing their mindset from the earlier age. I always tell people that like, when you look at the young children, they are so creative. Whatever the first set their eyes on, well, they will grow with that. And that's the biggest problem with most of the war-affected areas, because most of the children were born in war, and whatever they play with, whatever they set their eyes on, even when they go to school, everything when they talk, it's war. So that's their mindset. So I realized that it's very important to create a product that can actually engage the 73% the youth, or they play like video game every time. Like for me, I was playing GTA every time. So I was like, okay, how about developing a game that actually help them, that it can help them to change their mindset more, for them to understand what peace building is. And then I started like training myself using tutorial and online, then went to do some short courses about game design. And I made my first game. It's called Salam. So in the game, it's more of like, instead of killing people in the game, you have to make sure that you save them, you have to feed them, you have to, you have to make sure that you protect them from other communities, from other ethnic group, from being displaced from where they are. So when these children play the game, it's helped them really to understand what peace building is, because like true peace is something that is built over time, and as long as it helped them to, because video games, they can be used for anything, and when you set your eyes on them, when you start playing them, it become like, peace become a product, and when it become a product, it reach to the root cause of it, to the local people, to the youth, and that's why you see like peace building has become a problem with many international organizations. Why? Because they don't reach to the root cause of the problem, the young people that are used, the old people also who have no access to education, tool, and everything. So that's why like it's very important to utilize the industry, like the game industry, to find solution to people who have no access to certain areas. And when I started this, a lot of, that's the next question I'm going to ask, because the biggest problem is that a lot of people don't believe. There's no mass that believe in video game as a tool of change. The mindset, they think like video game are violent and so on, which I thought was going to be like my biggest problem. But when I did my first game, there was a lot of attention from the humanitarian organization who are actually investing into peace building. They're investing money into it. So when you use like the game as a tool, and then like I was talking with you like last month I was speaking at Humantum conference. So the Humantum conference is it's an umbrella of all the humanitarian organizations. They come together and they find solution on how to support the refugees, the war-affected areas. So I was talking to them like, using video game as a very good tool for them to reach to the grassroots, which is really an open door for the game designers to start, doing research and finding solution to these people, because actually there are a lot of opportunities for funding in the peace building world. There's a lot. Actually, one of the most effective tool for UN global sustainability is peace, and they're really looking a lot. They published a paper like 2 months ago about investing into the video game. So this way, like mostly I look into the video game as a very good tool to to help communities, to help people study and learn more about peace building. So that's what I really look into, and that's how I got my opportunity with the World Bank, to try to, because they're investing in Africa, and see like a way on how they can help the economy. And when investing in Africa, they need to see like there's peace, there's better infrastructure like in South Sudan. So I want to look at this innovative tool, like using video game as a tool of change, as a tool of social good. It creates like an environment for us as developers to try to look into like what is the next step, or what are you trying to to see, for example, when you go to the refugee camp, there's like things to do with personal hygiene, and the children every time, like, how do you use the opportunity or the industry to solve such kind of problem affecting people, affecting communities? A lot of people are looking a lot on finding solution, innovative solution to such kind of problem. So that's why I'm really excited to be connected with the industry and see like how we can really give back to the community and work together as developers and see like there's a lot of opportunities there. I'm also like working on a board game because I see like the reason why I'm working on a board game is because one of the things that actually I faced in the refugee camp was the usage of like mobile phone, internet is a little bit it's not a lot. So that's why I was looking into like working on a project which is of the same content, the same game, converting into a board game. So there's a lot, but when you find funding for your project, it's helped you for this humanitarian organization to help you in terms of distribution, in terms of learning, or you can collaborate with them. The good news is that when I was talking at the Humanitarian Conference, is that most of these organizations want to use gaming as a tool of, they want to use it in their particular organization. For example, CRS, for example, UNHCR, for example, other organizations want to explore the gaming industry and incorporate it into like part of training. So which is really good, and for us as developers, be able to find out how we can really connect with this humanitarian organization who have like who are trying to explore the industry. Some of them were coming to me like, hey, can we work on this project? Can we work on this project? But like, there's something I'm working on. But when we find a way of trying to engage ourselves with them, not like trying to do our own thing, that would be really very good, and that would actually help the industry to expand in different levels. So really, that's really what I wanted to talk about today. Like, we try to think on how we can use like the industry to help people, in terms of crisis, in terms in war, there's in health, there's a lot we can. Also, UNICEF is actually working hard to invest also into like the VR, into the video game. So those are some of kind of opportunities that are really available in the humanitarian world, also in the peace building world as well. So if you have any question, I'm happy as I'm also continuing to.
Oh, I have a question. So, just to recap one thing, what you're doing is showing the humanitarian groups that instead of just using video games for education, sitting on a couch and eating popcorn, drinking soda, is that you can teach a younger generation of kids. We can reinforce positive moral actions, and you can actually show that instead of just being used for entertainment, we can use it to reinforce social norms, show positive behavior, and sympathy for other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, and so you're probably one of the first couple people to bring this up at that high a level then?
Right now, at the moment, I think there are a little bit group of people.
Yeah.
But right now, at the moment, like in terms of peace building, I'm kind of like the first person, like to talk to them and engage them and try to connect.
Yeah.
Could you describe some of your games and like certain aspects of them?
Oh, okay. So I have a game called Salam. Salam is an Arabic word, the main piece. So the game is actually available right now on Android, like Android app is available. So the way you play the game is that you make sure that you destroy the bomb from killing people, from killing people. You also help people from like when somebody is hungry, like need food, like the refugees, you go for the bench and get food for them to eat. So it's more of that's how the Salam game is. yeah.
Do you like move around the world, or do you make choices? How do you interact with someone?
Oh, yeah, you make choices for like how, you know, how the scene you wanna be in. So that's the main thing, exactly. Yeah.
So you made it to try to change their mindsets and prevent
Mm.
the violence mindset from
Mm.
popping up for them.
Mm.
How did the game, creating the game and seeing it evolve and working with people, how did that change your mindset throughout the process of creating it and throughout the process of seeing it evolve, something you made impact the world?
That's really a good question. And as I said before, like it's when I compare it with when I was starting the game and I was comparing with my personal life and how I grew up and more on how I can understand what peace building is. So when I was creating the game, it really gave me a different perception of how, you know, how the reality of peace building is and how the reality of, you know, of war is, and how another bigger thing is also trying to engage me to play together with someone I was not supposed to play with. For example, when someone from Nuer and Dinka try to play with you, so that actually create more a sense of connectivity of being together, and yeah, if that helps. Yeah.
What instigated all of the fighting in the first place? You said that there was this civil war in the 80s, I guess. Is it worth like addressing the root cause, like what instigated the fighting to very begin with, or is it just
So yeah, that's
been going on so long that people forgot what they were fighting for?
so. First, it began with the Arabs. So when the Arabs came into Sudan,
So it was a religious
Yeah,
thing.
more like then. And then from there, like it started, and Arabs started like giving money to some part of Sudanese people. Like then they start like because they were giving money, and then they start like fighting each other. It evolved into like a tribal war. South Sudan, we have about 64 tribes with 64 languages. So like these are different.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are two different. You know, two different people. You cannot understand yourself. So it's a
Communication issue.
yeah, communication is huge. So that actually was a tool that the Arabs used in a way that the biggest two tribes, that's like the Dinka and the Nuer, started fighting each other. So when the fought, like that was like now in 1992, that's when that fighting between the tribes started. So I'm a Dinka, and then the Nuer people like were given like the tools by the Arabs, and then the money to, you know, to take over the Dinka, because we have like different, the way we stay is so different. So it's a big land. So and then from there was like more understanding, people like getting more understanding of each other. People went back home, and then now, in 2013, it became like more of a war of corruption. It's actually resulted in a tribal because the president is a Dinka, the vice president is a Nuer, so it's actually kind of separate people again. So then like that's up to now, like there's no peace in the country. That's the biggest challenge.
So does that culture change and language barrier problem influence your game development? You know, because you can't, if
That's a
somebody
good
here doesn't speak
Yeah,
with somebody here,
that's a
then
good
you
one.
can't use the same language.
Yeah, that's a good one. And that's why I'm using Arabic in my game, because
Neutral.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's bring like more people together. And that was the next thing I was going to talk about. Like, you know, it's such a country that is so diverse. There's the culture, the culture is so different. The language is different, and the values of each country of each culture is so different. So, and looking into that, and the future, you know, other game developers can look into that and create, you know, and use that their culture, because it's a very rich culture in terms of the arts. There's a lot of things we can use with it. Yeah, and that's something I will be willing to talk with some developers that are able to explore and see how we can do some project together and see like how we can now deeply go into the languages, the culture, how we, when they look at something that relates to them, then that actually can attract them and it helps them actually, you know.
Yeah, I'm really interested in using games to like spread awareness or change your perspective or help to learn. But one of the challenges that I run into my work, like I work at a nonprofit, is a lot of the grants and the money comes from, can you measure the impact? And I want to say yes, but then with the game, it can be tough. It's almost like art, or it's kind of like art, but it's also something else, and it's hard to, it can be challenging. So do you have any advice on how to do that?
Actually, that was the first thing that was the first challenge I actually faced in the industry, because most of them is that it depends on how you set your game, and a lot of organizations, like for example, USAID, you know, these are like big companies that want to see like what is the impact, how do you measure it.
Yeah.
But the good thing with them is that they have like a seed funding, and that seed funding help you to really deep into like how you can be able to explore and show them the result after the product is out. So that's the good thing, and advice I can give you is that look into some kind of organization or other mass that believe into like pushing your project, and then after that like the measurement will come. So if you don't like explore, there's no way you can tell them this is how it's working. If I distribute the game in the refugee camp, there's no way I'm going to tell them this is how it's helping people when they're not exploring or when they're not actually playing the product. So that's kind of like it's a reality, and it's affecting a lot of people, and that's the biggest problem in the non-profit world. You know, the one it's
I have a piggyback. Oh, go ahead.
If you have a related one. Go ahead.
It's just short though. So when you created Salam and you were trying to bring it to these specific people, did you have like additional like funding, or how did you bring it to the people that you were creating it for in the first place? Because I feel like putting it on the Android store, that's probably the biggest challenge, is like honing it down to like that group.
So what I did was when I created the Salam, it was like my own project, like was testing it, and then what happened was I started like actually distributing before the funding, so like giving to people APK, and then try to test them in community centers for them to start playing the game. So that actually helped them to really understand like the outcome of the game. And then from there, like I got the funding to work on actual game actually. Yeah.
That's cool. So in terms of game design, are there any places in game design, any mechanics you would specifically go toward for this kind of work, or are there any that you would stay away from in particular that you found in your work?
I think no, not really. No.
There's no.
Yeah, there's. I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
So that's 73% of young people before age 13. That's your target audience. What was how do you introduce them to the game and pitch it to them the first time? Because that is a hard mindset to change.
Yeah.
Like, what's your pitch to them, and how do you convince them and introduce it to them?
So I think that's really good. One thing was my breakthrough was the schools. Try to go to school and talk with the school administration and introduce it as part of the school, so it become more of they engage and become like routine. So in the school, so the school help a lot, and also like communities, like community centers, like daily life. They come and they play like different type of game. You just pop up and try to discuss with them, and that actually help them. And oh yeah.
So you mentioned, since you're kind of one of the first game makers that's trying to teach sort of like peace and morality through gaming, I was wondering if you've talked to, you don't have to make names, but any politicians
that's yeah. I think with I would say like internationally, no, but for example in South Sudan, it's a little bit organized, yeah. But like to say, like for example in the U.S. or other countries, it's a little bit different. But what I'm finding out is that it depends on the channel you're going through and how you connect with such particular people that you're going to talk with. But the good thing is, I think like it will always be like a positive outcome. It depends on how you are approaching. Most of the people would be like, for example, in South Sudan, may not like it because it depends on they may think you're changing people from their way of perspective, turning their mindset away from what they're supposed to do. So that's like the biggest problem we always face. That help? Yeah.
What's next? For
Yeah.
you? What's next for you?
Yeah.
So you're working on a board game, right?
Yeah. So I'm working on a board game right now, in a card game. So as I said before, and I think like by the end of this month, I'll get it ready. I'm partnering with UNHCR and other organizations to help like produce and manufacture the game. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now, and yeah, I'm happy like if other people help in terms of I can always talk and see. But the good thing is like explore. There's a lot of opportunity. Like if you want my help to connect, I will always be there. And yes, yeah.
Can you talk about the new game at all?
Oh yeah,
Right.
okay. So the new game is more on conflict resolution. Can you help me? Like, can you come? Can I come? So like working on it, it's called wider. So yeah, so wider is an Arabic word that mean unity. So this is more on helping people to understand about communities, about conflict resolution, about neutralizing war, peace building. So it has about 94 cards in it, like
Yeah.
cards. It has like so it has coin, and it also has food. And then the final thing we're working on is it's a board of the city. So the characters like you can assemble it and disassemble it, like it's more of a building. You can assemble it and disassemble it. So, and in the deck of cards, we have something like this, which is more having about 20 of them. I will partner with an organization, a conflict resolution organization that is expert in conflict. So each of these is having a conflict resolution question, and it's having a role, which is more of we have action card in the game and normal cards. So when we play the game with you, and I distribute, like you have 10, 20, depending on how. And when you play this card, which is an action card, so that's actually going to determine whether my city is going to be destroyed, or how do I respond to the war that you generate to me. So for me, when I have this peace card, which is more of neutralizing the war from affecting your city. So that when you neutralize this, then you have a penalty, because you caused the war, you have a penalty of picking more cards, like 2. But if I don't neutralize the war, then it's going to destroy my city. because you disassemble it. So when I play, there's a lot. There's a lot. So when I play something with hatred, race, there's racism. There's a lot of things you have to follow in the game. When I play a food, someone is hungry, need food, then you have to feed them. So if you don't have the food to feed them, you use the coin to buy the food in order to feed your characters. But if you don't have it, your character die. So when I play like a kind of conflict resolution, which is this, so then we're gonna pick one random question from the card, and then answer what is in the card. So that's gonna help us to interact now physically. For example, this question is asking for active listening. Active listening. So that means that when you play a conflict resolution card against me, this requires me for active listening. So you're going to tell me your story, I have to listen to it. So when I listen to it, it's having about 10 scores. So you're going to tell me your story, you will judge me how I'm listening to you, that's your business. And then after that, you now judge, you say, okay, I'm giving you 5 marks because you did not do this. It's not just, you don't just give 10 scores. So when you give me 10 scores, the scores are going to help me. If my character died, they're going to bring back my character to life. So that's actually how more of helping people to learn. There's a lot of questions and interaction in the game. So, for example, there's a question. For example, if you disagree with your coworker, how do you resolve that? How do you, there's a lot of conflict questions that we really raise up with that organization. So it's more of learning and helping people. So that's about the board game. Thanks for asking.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
What are the most important aspects of conflict resolution normally? You can't normally just play a peace card. How do you diffuse a situation where you're at war with another country or another tribal group?
That's a good one, and that's it's really wide. It's a big question in a way that it depends on how you understand war or peace and what you want to solve. For example, with countries, that's something big. Decisions are made from different levels that actually even a board game cannot help. So, so yeah, it's even anything. So, but it depends on the area you really want to help. One thing you have to understand is that there's no time where we're going to live in the world without war. They're going to be there. There's no day you can be without conflict. They're going to be there. But how do you respond to it? How do we respond to the war? So this actually has taken me back to how I began the story. These children, for them to really understand, even in school, they fight every day for someone taking your pen or someone. So it's more of helping in organization to help people really use the tool as a game to help them understand more about conflict resolution. So I think but in different levels, depending on how you really want to solve, how you understand it, and how far you really want to reach with your idea.
And obviously, like you previously said,
Mm.
the target audience
Mm.
is a young audience.
Mm.
An audience that would be able to be taught the difference between responding a fist to a fist instead of a
Exactly.
mouth to a fist, where you actually talk things
Yeah,
out
talk things out,
versus, doing something regrettable.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a lot of time. So that's all I have. If you can find me, I'm on Twitter.
How many players is the game?
It's a big game. You can have about 4 players.
Okay.
And about start from 2 to depend on how many people. Yeah.
I like that it has the interactive part and the resources part,
Yeah.
but because I feel like that's, to me, seems real.
Yeah.
A lot of games are one or the other,
Mhm.
so to have both going on at the same time, it's kind of like we
Yeah.
have to look out, but we also want to interact.
Interact, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really, I've tried most of the time to come every day like I just, how have you feel, and then something comes, oh, thank you.
I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
So I imagine if you went to like a human NGO or whatever, and you said, we want some funding so we can buy dozens of this game to distribute within a refugee camp. What argument would you use to say how important it is to the, I guess, cultural development of the people who play it versus spending that money on food or medicine or something else?
That's a very good question. The best thing about this is that most of the organization or humanitarian organization have a specific role, and there are people who are focusing on, food supply, people focusing on health, there are people focusing on peace building. Your target should be like the peace building, we're actually investing into peace building. So when you target them and say, okay, I have this tool that is supposed to use, I can give example of, I said before, like a lot of people have been displaced, and that actually resulted into trauma. And healing trauma is one of the biggest problem most of the organizations try to solve. Why? Because you cannot just go and make a summit or a small meetup and talk to people who are traumatized and think you're going to heal them. They need a product, they need something to engage them. Right, that's the biggest problem. And that's why you see most of the organizations are not really doing well, because they're using a solution which is not supposed to be for that particular problem. And it depends, I'm not saying like video game could be part of it, but yes, they can really be part of it. So when you target your audience, particular organization, for example, UN, they have a specific goal for peace building, which is not for education, innovation, which is not for different. I'm actually speaking at the UN next month in October. September, right? so I'm speaking at. I'm talking about like video game, the same, like sharing my story and talking to them how they can really use the video game, and so that's one opportunity I'm going for, and I'm really excited about it. I hope like other people can also be part of this. So I think that's the most thing you can do, is like targeting that particular people who are investing into like peace building. They give a lot of money, like South Sudan, they get a lot of money, but that money is not used. And when they see something like this, they would rather, invest into this. I think, I'm not just saying that, but I think when you find the right people, when you find the right people who are not gonna like waste your time and say like come tomorrow, or try to. That's the biggest problem right now. Yeah.
Cool. And have you submitted to the Games for Change Festival up in
Oh,
New York as
yeah.
well? Like, what's your involvement there if you
Yeah.
been active at all?
Yeah, it's a good festival. I actually spoke this year at Game for Change Festival about like particular game for peace like this. yeah, actually. So, and yeah, right now I'm a scholar at visiting scholar at American University Game Lab, which I started actually today. So yeah, so yeah, thank you. So thanks so much for having me, and I'm sure we're gonna be interact. You want to ask something? No. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.